you can make a teepee fire on the fly by holding your tinder, putting the heat source underneath it, getting it to go. Sometimes I'll put that right down where I want my fire, grab my kindling, break it in half, there's your teepee, put it right over it. Another one, break it in half, bigger teepee. Now you could add your fuel wood in teepee fashion as it burns. Much more efficient, much easier to light, and you're not worried about, compromising the architecture of your wobbly teepee fire that's going to come down. Make sense? Okay. So we use an ignition source in a fire lay, and it's called the teepee fire. The fire lay with 1,000 names. Here we go. Council fire, upside down fire, slow fire, log cabin fire. This arrangement has so many names and so many uses. Now, if you're gonna light it from the top, which means your teepee fire is resting on the top of this thing, it's gonna burn slowly down like a candle, or quicker, but it's gonna be a slower burn than if you light it from the bottom, all right? So let's say we light it from the top, and it's a body length arrangement of log cabin stacks. So it's my body length that I can lay right next to and have this fire right next to my tarp shelter, for instance. Well, if it's loosely arranged, if there's a lot of space between the logs per lasagna layer, then the air and coals are going to get through. You're going to have an upward draft as that heat pulls more air in like a furnace, and you're going to have coals coming down to help ignite what's below it. It's going to go up pretty quick. The result, though, is a beautiful even bed of coals. Think luau or pit fire cooking, right? So if you wanted a big bed of coals for, let's say you have a community meal and you want to clay bake some fish or dig a hole and roll those coals into the hole after you've lined it with grasses and then cover it with grasses and then laid your meat, your venison, your rabbit, your squirrel wrapped in burdock leaves on top of those grasses, and then more grasses, and then some dirt, and you let it steam cook throughout the day. Then that's the fire lay you want, is a nice loose log cabin fire. If you tighten it, however, and I get so extreme, sometimes I'll tighten the spaces between the logs with mud or sand or dirt so that there's hardly any air coming up from below. Now you've got a real slow burn. How slow? If you dial it in, you don't have to put any firewood on that sucker for 4 to 6 hours. That's almost a full night's sleep. Almost. I haven't gotten it quite to that point where I could sleep for 7.5 hours is an even amount of circadian rhythm sleep cycles. Every 90 minutes is an adult circadian rhythm sleep cycle. So 7.5 hours or 9 hours. It would be nice to say, yeah, I've got it dialed into 7.5 hours. I have to get up once to feed the fire, and it's usually just as the sky is lightening before dawn, right? Not a bad deal, and I'm not getting out of bed either. We'll explain that one in a bit because there's another fire lay that's going to help us out. All right, so we have the body length version, loose arrangement of wood versus tightly packed each layer arrangement of wood. Let's go to this tall tower thing like you would see at a campfire, right? Light it on top. Light it on the bottom, excuse me. If it's tight, it's going to burn a fire lay with 1, 2, 3 like traditional firewood chunk sizes pieces of wood, and then maybe 2 or 3 like snappy branch sizes of wood. You can get that to last 30 to 45 minutes, as long as it's tightly packed. If it's loosely packed, well, you ever see those rescue shows where they run up to the top of the cliff and they light the fire for the ship to see? That's what that is. It goes pretty quickly and lasts for a good long time, right? But it's going to burn ferociously and big bright flames. And then it's going to collapse inside of itself or fall over and leave coals everywhere, make things really